over the last, I'll say 2 or 3 months, you have seen myself get really intrigued by a wonderful YouTube content creator called Cody Sanchez. Cody Sanchez talks about doing the work. She talks about buying small businesses. She talks about working with owner occupants or owners of businesses who may be getting tired and they're, getting ready to retire. Was lucky enough to have Beau Eckstein as a part of my network, and he has the ability to get SBA loans to really help facilitate this. I believe most of my channel probably has no idea what an SBA loan is, really has no idea how you set those up. So when in doubt, I invite somebody on the channel. We have these discussions. So Beau, thank you for coming on today.
All right, thanks for having me.
So let's do some definitions. Yeah, what is an SBA loan? What are they like? All of that, and we'll dig in.
All right, so SBA is really a guaranteed loan program by the federal government. They're going to guarantee a certain percentage of the loan. They don't make the loans. Banks, credit unions, and non-bank approved SBA lenders make these loans. And there's really three big types of loans. There's the 7A, which can acquire business with no real estate or business with real estate. There's the SBA 504, which is really for real estate or heavy equipment. And then there's the express loan, which is for loans 500,000 and less. So there's a lot of options. You can also do 7As with conventional financing. You can do a 504 with this companion 7A. Why I got into this. So, my background is commercial real estate debt and equity placement, but why I like SBA, because you can be really creative with it. And so the SBA puts out what they call the SOP, which is like their standard operating procedures, their guidelines. Now each bank interprets them a little bit different because there's like thousands of pages and they just made a bunch of changes. So what I help people do is I'm the quarterback. I help them find the right bank or credit union or non-bank SBA lender. And so the beauty of it is that my services to the borrower or sponsor are free because I get paid a referral fee. So I don't charge anything for it. The banks incentivize people like myself because they're hungry for deals, because they make a ton of money, especially on the 7A loans. These banks love them because a big chunk of it's guaranteed. The day we close on the loan, they sell off their guaranteed portion of the loan and they get a huge premium. So that's why they do these high leverage deals.
Yeah. So let's even go back. We're using the word SBA. You and I clearly know what that means. I'm not sure everybody in the audience does, right? If my channel is very real estate oriented, they're probably used to hearing FHA. But what is SBA?
Small Business Administration. So it was a enabled program to help small businesses. A small business is defined as a company that has 500 employees or less.
Yeah, this is really interesting because, again, I think a lot of people hear Cody Sanchez speak, get inspired, and I think they default to seller financing. And again, if you can get a seller financing deal on a small business, by all means, go for it. But I think a lot of mom and pop sellers who want to get out, they're not interested in that. And I don't think there's a lot of people talking about SBA loans. So I'm going to make sure I'm taking notes because I'm learning too. I've been very clear that I'm looking to buy some small businesses in Fresno, California that I want to bolt onto the hub that are real estate oriented. So there's 7A, 7BA 504, and express loan. Those are the three types.
Let me see. 7A, SBA 7A, SBA 504, which is more for real estate.
Okay.
And then a SBA Express. And so now there's a lot of uses. It's not just for buying businesses. Let's just say I own a property management company and I lease a building.
Okay.
I can go buy a building as long as I occupy 51% of the space. It counts. And sometimes you can do what's called a rent replacement, get 100% financing. Unbelievable product, people.
Wow. So again, this is why somebody has to work with a professional. Again, I think a lot of people on my channel, obviously real estate oriented, but I think when you measure the do the work with the financial flexibility and the SBA program, why don't you talk about some deals that you've recently gotten done? Because I don't think a lot of my channel will understand just what's possible. Didn't you just do a marina or something like that?
Yeah. Yes. So I got introduced to a sponsor through a friend of mine, and he was looking to purchase this marina, which had a restaurant and 100 boat slips and a bunch of acreage, which he's going to develop into RV parks and so forth. A lot of lot of upside. It's doing, over $1 million a year in top line revenue. And granted, it's only really operating the marina part during the summer months because it's in a cold climate. So I got the deal. I helped him package up the initial framework of what we need to get a term sheet from a bank. And we took it to the first bank, and they were actually, during the process, they were in the process of getting purchased by another bank. Little did I know. And they scrutinized the deal. So we flipped it to another bank. And so this had 80% of the income currently was coming from the restaurant, and the sponsor didn't have restaurant experience. Restaurants have a high failure rate, so a lot of banks don't like that. So what I do is I find banks that don't overlay what the guidelines say from the SBA. They'll go, hey, if the SBA guidelines say that, we'll underwrite just like that. So fortunate enough, we were able to find a bank. We got a term sheet. And the only problem was the sponsor just purchased the short-term rental property, didn't have cash. So what we did is we negotiated a 5% seller carryback. So if the seller carries back 5%, which is very common in business, there's always a little bit of a carry usually. So he carried 5% on standby, which means that it's basically like he's leaving, or he or she is leaving their equity in the deal. It could accrue interest, but you can't make payments on it.
Okay.
For the term of the loan.
It's a silent second.
For the term of the loan, right? So it's like their equity. They just changed the guidelines actually like 2 weeks ago, where it only has to be on standby for 2 years. Before it had to be on standby for the full term of the loan. So now we needed to come up with $150,000, which was the other 5% of the equity injection needed. So you need to come SBA, as long as the debt service coverage ratio is 1.15 or higher. The guidelines say they'll finance 90% of total project costs. Purchase price.
And you just said the seller can carry back second. So you only got to come up with 5% of the deal.
You got it. So this is this is the stuff, right? This is the way to structure deals. So this is what I came up over the last couple of months. I came up with another business, which you'll love too, because I need some partners in this business. But essentially, he needed $150,000. He qualified income, W-2 income. He's signing a personal guarantee. And anyway, so I was like, okay, well, how are we going to come up with $150,000? So we were able to get a family member to come in as an equity partner for $40,000. He needed $100,000 more.
Right.
So my good friend came in with $50,000, and he owns he owns a percentage less than 20%. So as long as you own less than 20%, you don't have to go on the loan as a guarantor.
Okay.
And then another friend of mine also invested $50,000, and she owns a percentage of this business as well. So the sponsor came in with no money, and he's the controlling party. The investors are happy because they're getting great returns, and we're gonna add so much revenue with we're getting a water and ice machine on the property, right? It's like a vending machine.
Sure. So
that's going to probably do $20,000 or $30,000 a year of net income. We're adding more boat rentals.
Right.
It's got a venue on it. So then it's this business that was purchased for $2 million is going to be a $4 or $5 million business in the next couple of years when you do the value add strategy. Wow. So the common thread is that the guy owned this marina for 30 years. It was his baby. Right. And he wanted to put it in somebody's good hands and get a fair price. And so it takes a little bit of,
It's really funny. I'm already starting to see, and I've just started to scratch this thanks to Cody and your help or inspiration here. There's a lot of similarities between a tired landlord and a tired small business owner, right? In many cases, they've owned them or run them for decades. They have little to any real debt on them. And probably most importantly, they haven't, like the last decade, they haven't been focused on revenue. They've probably been focused on just, status quo. And that when you have a decade of just status quo and you haven't run it for max revenue or max profit, there is so much value add there. And I think Cody's right. There's a lot of people into a recession, which I think we either are in or going to, are going to be like, you know what? I'm 62 years old. I'm tired. I don't want to go through another one. I want to sell to someone. Maybe I'll even carry back more than 5 just to stay in the game, stay interested. But I think small businesses are going to be very interesting things. And I think Cody's just going to make a lot of people look for it. But again, nobody knows how to get loans on these. So Beau, if somebody's watching this channel, they have a line on something, where should we send them? Because I think you're the guy to help them.
Sure. Just go to my name, which is beaueckstein.biz. It takes you to my digital business card. That's BEAUECKSTEIN.biz. Go there and you'll see I put a link that says one rental at a time. You click on that link, it takes you to my calendar and you book a call. I'm happy to discuss anything commercial finance related, business finance. I have a lot of knowledge in how to finance startups, how to finance franchises, how to finance existing businesses, and it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, and again, these calls cost a whopping $0.
That's right, $0. Yeah,
they're very, very expensive at $0. The other, and again, I'm being facetious because Beau's the guy. Beau's the guy I would go to when I find something. If I can't get 100% seller financing, I'm going to go get an SBA loan through Beau. The other thing you talked about is franchises. I don't think a lot of people realize. I think a lot of people know, quote unquote, franchises are expensive. I think the last time I heard McDonald's is $1 million or whatever it is. There's lots of franchises out there. There's lots of people looking for cash flow from a franchise. Can you finance a franchise?
Yeah, it's SBA. So they used to have a directory on the SBA website, which said the approved SBA directory. Now, these weren't vetted, meaning like, hey, this is a good business, but it met certain thresholds. They got rid of the directory. So now any franchise is eligible. We need the FDD, which is the franchise disclosure document. That tells you all the numbers, how many units they have. But what I see a lot of real estate investors doing right now, they're buying service-based franchise businesses, insulation companies. Like
yes.
these you can run them usually from your home. Maybe you have like a small office. There's a lot of home-based service businesses that crush it. And some of these are relatively pretty inexpensive. So everybody thinks brick and mortar, quick service restaurant. No, guys. There's so much opportunity in franchising. And anyways, it's another extremely, when I got involved in the franchise world, it opened up my eyes. There's literally over 4,000 franchise concepts out there. There's all these dog pet walking service.
Yeah, they had the vans and like dog groomers and all of this. Yeah, there's all kinds.
So there's tremendous opportunity. So going back, I'm in this group and there's 900 entrepreneurs in this group, and they're all millionaires. And I'm watching a lot of them, and they're buying they're buying existing businesses, and they all own real estate, and or they're starting some kind of franchise business. So here, let me give you one stat real quick.
Sure.
I was on the one of the Business Brokers Association's website, and there's likely 12 million businesses likely to change hands over the next 10 to 15 years. 12 million businesses.
I agree.
So this is the time, and I personally like my concept is do like a platform. So if I do like maybe I do like a dryer vent cleaning business, right? And like you can stack a couple home service businesses together, and really you might say, oh, I don't want to be you don't have to be. These concepts spell out what they're looking for. You don't need to be the guy that's cleaning the vents. You need to be the operator. So there's models. And so when you're interested in a franchise, usually you should work with a franchise consultant because they have inventory, all these concepts. And what they'll do is they give you initially what a good broker or consultant does in the franchise space, they'll give you an assessment. It's called a Zoracle profile, and it's kind of like a disc profile, but specific to franchises. Because the franchisors, they look at it because they want to see what skill sets, is it a match? Because they can see with all their other operators what skill sets they have, and that's how they know if they're going to be a good match. And then also it helps the franchise consultant figure out what franchise concept would best match this candidate. So that's how it all works in the kind of the back end, and it's amazing. A lot of people come into the franchise world saying, "Oh, well, I want to own an Anytime Fitness gym, right?" And the brick and mortar, and then all of a sudden they get a good consultant and they match up something that's home based. You don't need that many employees, So there's so much out there
Yeah.
that as I was learning this, it really inspired me. And then, you know, obviously your Cody Sanchez has done just a phenomenal job on her social media,
Mhm.
kind of showing people what's possible. And she's bought in like 30 businesses in like the last couple of years, and she
Yeah.
puts out great content. And so I think, you know, if you're out there watching this show right now, is you should open up your mind thinking, the nice thing about a franchise too is you can find something that you can keep your W-2 job and then scale up the franchise. The whole idea of owning these cash flowing businesses is, one is that you're going to, you know, you're going to create something that you're in it, and you're going to get a multiplier when you sell maybe to private equity or something down the road.
Right.
So you're going to have an exit from the business, but also think about the cash flow you're bringing in. That cash flow is going to feed your one rental at a time, right? Because that's your long-term wealth.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
my strategy going forward. And so what I started to do when we talked about the marina is I'm starting a group. There's groups out there right now, they're called search funds, and they actually provide the equity for these investors that buy certain existing businesses. Well, I'm doing that in a strategic way where we're doing businesses that have real estate. So like these marinas, I'm financing a boutique motel. So I'm going to line up the equity in as part of my kind of job, what I do, and then I'm going to start a holding company which owns a small portion of many businesses
Slivers.
with good operators.
I like it. There's a lot in here that I think people need to realize. There's a couple of things. I love that stat, 12 million businesses changing hands in the next 10 to 15 years. I totally believe that baby boomers are getting to that point where they're going to be less and less motivated to do the daily grind. And again, there's going to be plenty of value add because they haven't been that interested the last 10 years in most cases. Second, I want to talk about, I live in the Silicon Valley, at least currently, and there's a lot of sexiness launching a business. I believe most of us, certainly anybody with a full-time job, that's not where to go. You want to buy a business that has a reputation, has past clients, has a Rolodex, has inventory, whatever it is. Much easier to put a deal together with an income statement and taxes and all of that. I think there's going to be tremendous opportunities. It's why I brought it to my channel. Again, I'm looking to add some of those pipeline businesses to an office I happen to already own in Fresno around real estate. So I get it that Cody inspired me. You're helping me kind of on the financing side for these. So one more time, Beau, if somebody's intrigued by this idea, where should they go?
My name, Eckstein.biz. Scroll down, you'll see one rental at a time. Click there. You're going to be taken to a calendar link, and just find a time that works for you. It'll automatically send you a Zoom link. We can meet face to face, or you can call in if you prefer.
Yeah. One of the things I know for certain is I know nothing about small business loans. And if you're following this channel, there's probably a good chance you don't either, but you understand the idea, doing the work, finding the business, networking, having those conversations. Trust me, just book a phone call with Beau, Eckstein.biz. That's B-I-Z, correct?
Yes.
And he'll help you with all the ins and outs. He's been doing this forever. He would be my go-to guy. Beau, thank you for coming on, man. Thank you for reaching out. I'm glad we had this conversation for the world to see.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Of course. You got it. Thank you.